It was a very difficult Prime Minister's questions for Boris Johnson this week. There were calls for him to resign, and this comes amid reports that a group of his own MPs met to discuss when to submit their letters of no confidence. This meeting has been dubbed the pork pie plot, and that's because one of the MPs involved represents a constituency that also contains Melton Mulberry, which is of course known for its pork pies.
They create jobs and they get the economy moving.
This demand from the former Brexit Minister.
Mr. Speaker, like many on these benches, I spent weeks and months defending the Prime Minister against often angry constituents. I reminded them of his success in delivering Brexit and on the vaccine and many other things. But I expect my leaders to shoulder the responsibility for the actions they take. Yesterday, he did the opposite of that. So I'll remind him of a quotation altogether too familiar to him of Leo Amery to Neville Chamberlain. You have sat there too long for all the good you have done. In the name of God, go.
Order. Prime Minister.
I must say to the right honourable gentleman, I don't know what he's talking about, but what I can tell him, I don't know what quotation he's alluding to that he's referring. But what I can tell him is that I think I've told this House repeatedly throughout this pandemic, I take full responsibility for everything done in this government and throughout the pandemic.
The Prime Minister on Tuesday said in a TV interview that nobody had told him the drinks event was against the rules, which was brought up by Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer.
So this week, he's got a new defence. Nobody warned me that it was against the rules. That's it. Nobody told him. Since the Prime Minister wrote the rules, why on earth does he think that his new defence is going to work for him?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, he talks about the rules, and let me repeat what I said to the honourable lady across the aisle earlier on. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we must wait for the outcome of the inquiry. But I renew what I've said, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to his view,
Nobody believes what you say. Can we have a little less? I want to this Prime Minister like I wanted to leader of the opposition. I want the same courtesy from both sides. Prime Minister.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Speaker, if we'd listened to the right honourable gentleman about COVID restrictions, which is the substance of his question, then Mr. Speaker, we would have been in lockdown after July.
MP Christian Wakefield crossed over the benches as he defected from Conservative to Labour just before Prime Minister's questions. In his resignation letter he wrote, "I have wrestled with my conscience for many months, and you will know that I have made my policy misgivings clear on numerous occasions in private and sometimes in public. I can no longer support a government that has shown itself consistently out of touch with the hard-working people of Bury South and the country as a whole." Keir Starmer welcomed him to his party. The Prime Minister faced numerous calls to resign, and there's growing pressure on his leadership, with MPs frustrated with how he's handled Partygate. There's a rise in the cost of living and a rise in energy prices as well, which means it will be a challenging time ahead for the Conservative Party. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.